introduction instructional video. Just going to show you the basics of how to start learning about anatomy. My background is that I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York City, and I've also been to the Connecticut Institute of Art, and I've done a lot of light drawing classes, and I personally have been fascinated by the human form, and I've always wanted to get to a level where I can draw anything that I want from my mind. But my goal really is to teach you in a step-by-step process how to start memorizing, learn the facts about anatomical structure of the human form. So let's get into this. Okay, so I guess the introduction of learning about anatomy I guess it would have to be that you have to approach learning about something that is quite complicated, like the human being, where you can start memorizing it. So one of the coolest things that I learned a while back was how to help your brain learn faster, especially in drawing. And hopefully I can articulate this as best to my ability, and if I don't, maybe I'll go into more detail in other videos. But here let me show you something quite extraordinary about how the brain can be made to learn about complicated things in a different way. So what we're going to do is we're going to invent. And I'll show you why this is such a really a bizarre way of how the brain learns. So here I made two dots here, and basically this is like the length of this contraption that I'm going to build. So this contraption is going to be going to look like a human being, but I'm not going to create it as a human being. I'm just going to invent it as a structure that resembles something of a human being in its nature. And I'll show you why that is, why I'm saying this. So the first item is that I drew a line that I'm going to divide the line in half. So I'll measure this, make sure that it's about halfway, and I'll make an X here. So, and then I'll divide this guy in half. I'm going to make these arrows. Okay, and this should be half also. Let's see if I can measure this with this pen. This is halfway, and I'll do the same thing here, halfway here, about here. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 5 dots. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So here I'll also go ahead and divide this again in 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is going to be 5, 6, 7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've divided into 8 sections. So here is my contraption. I like put a box here and make some weird looking thing with like almost like type eyes. Okay, and then in this structure I have marked with an X the center point of this let's say a creature that I'm creating. So this is the center of the creature. and above the center, the next section up is going to be the umbilical cord. And I'll just do like a few lines here, and this gives me the umbilical cord right here. And above the umbilical cord are going to be two dots. Let's say they're like two lights, okay? And the width of these two lights is the height of this head-like structure. So I'll like do this, make it look like a chest, but it's actually not a chest. Okay, it's just some kind of a odd looking creature that we're creating. Next up is I'll make two straight lines down lightly, and above this umbilical cord, just slightly above, I'll make two dots here. Okay. And I'll make two dots on the bottom, just slightly, make like a V shape. And from this center point, I'll make a little line that connects to these two lights. So it's going to be a center point from here that goes like this. Doesn't have to go all the way up. And then from the bottom section, I'm going to just go a little bit down, and I'm going to draw a line like so. Okay, I'm going to put two dots here. So this now gives me the width of this structure, like this human-like creature. So basically, in general, the width should be like 2.5 heads wide, like from here to here. But right now, we're not even bother creating a human being. What we're doing is just creating a contraption, like some kind of a completely original creation from our mind. But we're doing something very interesting here. Remember, we're inventing. So these two dots, the dots that I put above, are going to be like two lines here that give us kind of like a egg shape that we can put from here to here. Okay, and then to hold this structure, we'll just put another cylinder here, like almost like a neck. So give this a mouth so you understand what I'm doing here. Okay, and so now the next item is that from the center of gravity, we're going to go down, go up a little bit and make those two dots just a little bit up. And from these two dots is going to be the two distinct lines. And so there's two dots here, like two lines here. So next I'll just put this, make a line here. Okay. And from this section above, so this was the first, second, exactly on the second point, just going to make a circle. So this circle that I'm making doesn't go, it stays above the second line. Okay, then I'll do this, make a line here, and at the exact bottom of this dot here, we're going to just make two triangles, and this like represents 2 feet. So from the this was the center, and we'll call this the umbilical. From the umbilical, where I had stretched the line to the lights, this gave me 2 more points. It's like a V shape, like almost like a 90 degrees. This is 90 degrees. And from this point, I can now stretch this, and where the umbilical ends in the middle, I can put one more dot, and then stretch this down, and where the center of gravity was, I can end this about little on to the bottom, like around here. And then I can make 2 things that look like hands. Okay, so what I'm showing you here is obviously something that looks like a human being. But this thing is actually not a human being. It's an original creation from my mind. And the reason this is so fascinating is because if you approach learning about something, let's say if the human being never existed and we actually had to create this, we made a set of rules that we create a line and we would divide it in 8 parts, and the parts would be based on the height of this head, and then from the center of gravity it was another rule that we created, right? So this is let's say rule 2. So rule 1 was to create a line with 8 heads, 8 divisions, so like divided by 8. And the second rule is to make the center, mark the center, and then the third rule is to divide it in 8 sections. Okay, third rule is to divide it in 8 different sections. And then from the center you go to the 5th section, and from the 5th section you make a 90 degrees angle, like here, like a V shape, and this gives you the position for the 2 lights, which should be just about the same size as the first section, like the head. But what's happening here now, I'm going to go into much more detail as to how to start learning about this, but what we actually did here, because we created this from our mind as an original idea, we actually ended up mastering it, and that's really an amazing fact about learning how to draw. So basically I could have come in here and made a, let's say, a square, a rectangle here, and then let's say an arrow, right? This piece. Now if I take this paper away and if I now draw that same design just like this, what ends up happening is that because I created this design in the previous drawing, I was its inventor. When I draw it now, I become its master, because my brain thinks of this as an original idea. So now if you take the same concept of inventing the human form by specifying all these rules as proportions and these marks, specific marks to how the contraption looks, we can recreate this on the fly as an original creation. So here, let me demonstrate to you what's actually happening now. So now if I divide this in half, and I'm going to go pretty fast now, is because I know what we created. So I had marked this in half, the center point, then I divided this in half, now I'm going to divide this in 8 parts. I'm going to do this as fast as I can, just to show you the cool thing about this. And remember, here was the umbilical cord, and I did all these things. Then I had made like 2 arrows that specify the middle of this guy here, and I made like 2 dots, like almost like a 90 degrees angle. These 2 lights, and I had made them like this, and this would go here, this would go here, and just about under the head I specified the collarbone. It gave me 2 dots, giving me the width. Now this can be a little shorter, it doesn't matter, it's just getting understanding what's going on. And remember from this umbilical cord, let's say the navel, we marked 2 points that were like this. So now I didn't practice this at all. I'm doing this right now in real time, just showing you how much the brain remembers. Right? Then we made two dots here. Then we made two dots here on the bottom a little bit. And then we knew that right in the middle here, from the to the second head, we had actually created these two lines with two balls. Put this here, made triangles. Then we took this and stopped right where the umbilical cord was, then went a little down from the center of gravity, made this and make it look like a hand. And I also had done like a holder, like a chest holder. Give it like that circle look. So the difference here is that because I created this as an original idea, a concept, to the design of a structure, of a form that I would call the human being, I was able to understand it and master it much more faster. So that's basically what I wanted to show you first as the introduction video on understanding anatomy, is that approach everything that I will show you as an invention. Don't adapt to what you know about the human being, the human form, as something that existed before. Create it as if it had never existed before, and create your own rules. And this will allow you to master drawing from your mind in a much more faster pace. So I look forward to the next instructional video that I'll hopefully post up in a few days whenever I get to it, and then we'll start looking at how to use this idea and start understanding the proportions and the design, the basic design of the human form, and then jumping and forcing the mind to now forget about all these designs and just be able to draw a line, and then just mark with a few dots, start drawing freely. So I hope you join me, and definitely give me some feedback.